Hello! Today we're going to talk about fiction, which is what I love to read, and we're going to talk about the genres of fiction. It is spelled G-E-N-R-E-S, pronounced genre. What is a genre? So genre is a category or kind of book. And so on this poster, we have all of the categories that we have decided to promote in our library. So these are the genres that we have in our library: adventure, animal story, fantasy, historical fiction, horror, humor, mystery, realistic fiction, science fiction, sports, and graphic novels. Now there are other names for fiction genres, and if you go to a public library where they have adult books, they might even have ones like romance or westerns that we don't have. But we have decided to promote these genres on this list. We're going to start with realistic fiction. This is a story using made-up characters, but the story could really happen in real life. So they are often school stories, growing up stories, or family life stories. Sometimes they include a big problem, but they are called realistic fiction. Efren Divided is a story with a big problem. It's about a family who is Mexican American, and the mother is deported back to Mexico because she is not doesn't have her papers to be in the United States. And so this causes a lot of tension and problems. The next one is Ways to Make Sunshine. It's a story about a girl and her school and her family in Portland, Oregon. And then The Vanderbeekers of 141st Street is about a family of 5 kids who live in New York, and it's about their community, the people that live in their apartment building, and about their family. So these are considered realistic fiction. Fantasy is a genre that's very popular, and it's a story that includes impossible things, such as talking animals or magical powers. Let's look at some examples. Seekers of the Wild Realm is about a kingdom where they go seeking very magical creatures. Some of them are dragons. Wings of Fire is a whole series about dragons. And Love, Sugar Magic is about a girl who has magical powers that come through her baking. All of these are fantasy stories. Adventure stories have lots of action. It could be a survival story or a treasure hunt and a rescue. It could be some journey or quest that people are on, or it could be a spy story. All of these would be considered adventure. Here are some examples. City Spies by James Ponti. A group of kids are living in Scotland with various skills, and they are sent to the city of Paris to solve a crime and a mystery. The Someday Birds is about a family who takes a trip across the United States to find and get to their father. Along the way, they have quite the adventures. And then Avalanche is a story of a survivor of kids on an avalanche. They are skiing and they have come across an avalanche that buries them, and it's how they survive. Funny stories or humorous stories are always a great thing to read. We have a sticker that says humor, and it's a story written to make the reader laugh. Here's some of my favorites. The Best of Iggy. When I read this book, I laughed out loud. Iggy is a 4th grader who gets into all kinds of trouble. The Terrible Two is about a team of 2 kids who also get into much trouble. And then The Willoughbys is about a family of kids who are trying to ditch their parents who are not taking good care of them. So great stories of humor. Horror stories, sometimes they're called scary stories, and they are intended to scare, unsettle, or horrify the reader. They often have supernatural elements such as ghosts, zombies, vampires, or demons. In Spirit Hunters, we have a haunted house. In Ghost Squad, we have a town that has a spell has been cast upon them. And in Zombie Baseball Beatdown, the zombies are taking over the town. A mystery is a puzzling event or a crime that is not solved until the end of the story. It is often a story where a detective solves a crime. Here's some examples of good mysteries. Framed by James Ponti is a series where two kids get involved in solving crimes. And the Museum Mysteries is very similar. This time it's 4 kids who help solve mysteries in museums. And then finally, Supermax and the Mystery of Thornwood's Revenge. This is about a girl who helps solve a mystery in kind of a haunted house in her neighborhood. So these are all mysteries. Animal stories. These are stories where animals are the main characters or a big part of the plot. Now they could be realistic or they could be fantasy, like the animals talk. So I have some examples. Class Pets, Fuzzy's Great Escape. This is about all the class pets in a school and all the things that they are up to after school hours. Saving Winslow is about a little miniature donkey and a little boy who saves him. When he was born, he is so fragile and ill that it doesn't look like he's going to make it. And then, of course, the one and only Bob, which is the continuation of the one and only Ivan. In this story, we not only have a gorilla and an elephant, but we also have a dog. Science fiction are stories that have a little bit of science involved with them. Sometimes it's realistic and sometimes it's fantasy, but it could involve future settings or space travel, time travel, aliens, or new and different social systems. Countdown Conspiracy is about 6 kids who are chosen all around the world to go to Mars, and something happens. Then The Last Day on Mars is a story about how the Earth is no longer, you're not able to live there anymore, and now Mars, where everybody is living, is now going to be not able to live there anymore, so everyone is leaving, and this is the last flight out. And then finally, A Wrinkle in Time is about a scientist who figures out how to time travel. All of these are science fiction. Historical fiction are stories that take place in the past, or major events that have happened from the past, or time periods from the past. Prairie Lotus is about the pioneer life. 9/10, a September 11th story, is about September 11th and what happened in New York City and around the United States. And then this series, Girls Survive, is about the Underground Railroad survival story with Anne Fights for Freedom. Sports fiction. These are stories where sports are important to the plot or the main characters. Here are some examples. Lou is about a girl on a track team. Baseball Genius is about a boy who plays baseball, but he's really good at figuring out the stats. And then a Mare Studemeyer's series about basketball. This one's called Home Court, and the series is called Stat, Standing Tall and Talented. And finally, we have graphic novels. This isn't exactly a genre, but more of a format of a book. So any graphic novel could be any of the genres that we just talked about, but the format is a comic strip style. Here are some books that we have. I Survived the Shark Attacks of 1916. This is an adventure story and historical fiction. Sometimes books have more than one genre. Since we only use one sticker on a book here at Sunset Terrace, I have to decide which one to put on the spine of the book. And I usually choose adventure for this since it's about survival. Twins is a realistic fiction story, and The Crossover is a sports fiction story. But all of these have been done as a graphic novel. Here's an example of 4 books that are definitely genre mashups. What I mean by that is they could be more than one genre. So for the example of Clean Getaway, is it an adventure or is it realistic? Well, there is a trip that they get away and are on a Winnebago exploring, but it also has a lot of serious, realistic story parts to it. So I had to decide, and I called it realistic, but it also could be adventure. The next book is called The Littlest Voyager, about a squirrel who is part of a Voyager team. Now, could this be historical fiction? Yes. Could it be an animal story? Yes. So we'll have to figure out what it is. It also could be an adventure story too. So I believe that I'll probably make this historical fiction. The next book is Rowley Jefferson's Awesome Friendly Adventure. Is this humor or is it adventure? We know Jeff Kinney books are always humorous, but it has adventure in the title. I'll probably make it humorous just because it'll match all the other books. But you can see it's definitely a genre mashup. And then finally, Trespassers is a mystery, but it's also a graphic novel. We've already decided that as long as it's a graphic novel, that comes first, and that would be the sticker we would put on the spine of the book. So you can see books can have more than one genre, sometimes 3 or 4, if it's a very interesting, creative book with lots of things going on. So that is genre mashups. One way to use the genres that you now have learned about is to type in the genre in the search bar in Destiny Discover, and it will come up with all kinds of choices for you. So if you like fantasy, or if you like sports stories, or if you like science fiction, try searching for it in the catalog. What is your favorite fiction genre? Have you tried all of them? A great thing to do is try each genre and decide for yourself which one you like the best. Happy reading, everyone!